Lights, camera, sports cards, guys and gals, and welcome into episode 2 of the Hobby Headquarters here at the Hollywood Rip Studio, your one-stop shop for all news and sports updates within the sports card hobby. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Hollywood. That's the Joe Bro, Joe Nasty, as always. What's happening this week? Tops now, tops now, tops now. The bounties are starting to mount and get pretty crazy. The business model's getting out of hand. The most expensive item ever sold at auction, that happened. And someone found a $1 million card possibly in a supermarket closet. But let's start with the headliner. 1932 World Series, Game 3, I believe, at Wrigley Field between the New York Yankees and the Chicago Cubs. Babe Ruth famously pointed out to the center field stands, it actually is that direction. Wrigley Field is that direction,
Let's see. Well, that is northeast, so.
But Babe Ruth's called shot, one of the biggest moments in sports history, probably the most famous moment in baseball history. But that jersey sold this morning, as we film this on a Sunday, for $24.12 million at Heritage Auctions. It becomes the most expensive sports card or memorabilia item ever sold, more than doubling, or just about doubling, the previous records. We had a Jordan game used jersey that did 12 or so million, and an SGC 9552 Mantle that did 12 million prior. But this is obviously an iconic piece of sports memorabilia. I think it shows the hobby is very much alive and well on the high end. But auction houses, especially because, we had Sotheby's partner with Fanatics Collect, right? Sotheby's got to be licking their chops that the money is going to be flowing in. Obviously, not every product is like this. But What are your thoughts on this jersey? I think it's pretty darn cool. If I had $1 billion, I might just well spend $24 million. What do you think?
Yeah, I suppose so, right? My first thought was, because you said what it doubled was a Michael Jordan jersey, right?
Correct.
So it's kind of interesting that you go from a relatively modern piece of memorabilia to something that's, I guess you would call ancient. Yeah. Sporting wise, ancient. And then it's isn't the called shot technically fable? Or did it because we don't have video. We only have...
No, we do.
We have video of him pointing?
There's video now, but from the angle it's been shot, it is unclear whether Babe Ruth is pointing to left center or he's pointing to the Chicago Cubs dugout. That is the debate.
Right. So with that being said, look, the fable is what bounced it up to this amount. So my first thought really is modern versus ancient, and nostalgia always wins.
Nostalgia always wins. Ancient wins. I think this is really cool. Great news for the sports card hobby. But moving on to story number 2. We're back at Topps Now card 26. By the way, this triple autograph of LeBron, Curry, and Durant. A third week in a row we have to talk about it because the bounties are getting insane. Of course, Jeff Wilson was the first person to issue the bounty. He offered $100,000 plus a VIP experience. Then Ken Golden came out and said, we'll give you $150,000 and then whatever it gets once we auction it for you. Then Jeff Wilson came out and said, you know what? Screw this guy. I'm going to offer $250,000 for it, cash, and then we're going to give it to Fanatics Collect / Sotheby's to auction it, and you'll get whatever is on top of that. So that kind of was we're playing this hands game, one on top of the other, right? Then Grand Slam Collectibles comes in and says, I'll offer $500,000 if all the autographs grade a 10. And then just a few days ago, Pristine Auction offered 110% of whatever the final bid price is if someone finds and consigns the card with them. It's just getting out of control. Yep. Like we talked about last week, though, and I talked to a few people at the Burbank Card Show over the weekend about this, I still think this card is going to be worth 1/4 of whatever it sells for in about a year. So I would sure as heck never buy it. Not that I have the funds to buy something like that. I'm selling it 100% immediately to the highest bidder and wherever I'm getting the most money. But what do you think of this crazy bounty extravaganza that is this triple auto Olympics card.
I said it last week, and I stand by this. I think this is a fool's chase, and that no one cares anymore. Like, truly. Like, it's not...
Well, people care right now, but down the line...
Do they? It sounds like 4 people care about it. You know what I mean?
Well, no, 588,000 people bought this. Remember that.
When did they buy it, though? Not this week.
No, they bought it 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but they still bought it.
2 weeks ago. And now no one cares. That's what I'm saying.
No, people care because these bounties are crazy.
Well, it's because of this, yes.
Yeah. But I'm saying the card, I agree with you that the card itself will be worth a quarter of what it sells for at auction.
I think it'll be worth less. Or, like, I think it'll decrease more than that.
What do you think? Like, what percent? I think it'll decrease like 75 to 80%. That's my thought. What do you think it'll be more?
At least 90%. I'm telling you, Olympic stuff does not matter. I wish it does. But, like, the Curry 3-pointers, the 4 in a row, was all over online. Yeah. Basically, 3 days post it. And now, when's the last time you've seen those videos without actually, like, going and finding it?
I haven't. So you're saying if this card sells for $1 million in 3 weeks, you think it'll be worth $100,000 in a year? I could actually see that. Honestly, I could actually see that.
If that, truly.
I don't think
like, it's easy for me to say, right? Because, like, I'm saying, what a waste of money. Like, the people who are making these bids, they have, a little bit more financial flexibility. But
what do you mean?
Yeah, I know that's a crazy statement. But, like, from this perspective, as someone who has a pretty good, I think, I have a pretty good print on, or my fingers on the pulse of, like.
I hear you.
Like, it doesn't matter anymore. No one cares about Gabby Thomas anymore. No one cares about Simone Biles anymore.
Yeah.
It's terrible, but it's the truth.
It is what it is.
And the difference is, obviously, it's the NBA players.
Right. They have more relevance, but still not enough in terms of, like, this is going to happen once every 4 years.
I think it's as valuable if it was LeBron in a Cavs jersey, Curry, and then Durant in, like, a Thunder jersey. Like, it's the same mark as that.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that. But we're going to move now to our third story, and it's kind of related because we talked about how this was such a good model for Topps. But Shohei Ohtani, of course, became the first Dodger player to hit 40 homers and steal 40 bases in a season. He did it with a walk-off grand slam just a couple of nights ago. Topps introduced, of course, a Topps Now card commemorating that, and one person will receive a 1-of-1 inscribed 40 home run stolen base club from Shohei. It'll be signed. This is the exact same business model as the Olympics basketball card,
right?
Which was a huge success. We knew this was coming, that they were going to start doing this. I do have one issue with it, and that is that they are charging $12, $13 with shipping and tax, basically.
Yeah.
We don't know what the print runs are because they don't print them until after everyone's finished buying, and then they close the buying window.
Oh, interesting.
So you don't know how many base cards there are going to be. You don't know what your odds are of pulling that. And I think it's since 2020, Panini stopped publishing what their odds of actually pulling stuff out of their packs is so that they could just print more and price it to the moon, and no one would give it, and no one would know, like, really?
You can't hold them accountable, right?
Right, like really how much of a rip it was. Right? Topps actually does a really good job of, in all of their products, you can go to topps.com/odds and you can see all of the actual odds, but this you cannot, right? So that basketball card, for example, sold 588,000 copies, which probably means the base cards are gonna be worth 10 cents. Right? They're charging, people are paying $13 for this. Right? You open a $1,000 box of Panini Prism for $1,000. I'd say a really bad box, you maybe get $50 back, 5% of your money back. This is worse.
I've seen it happen with you.
Thanks. This is worse. These odds are worse for you to get like a 10-cent card. Right? So I find it interesting that Topps has found a way to kind of disguise this a little bit. Maybe. But it's a little eerie. Could this be the first sign when you put all the chips onto Fanatic's side and everything's going to be Topps, could they start to go down this Panini line where they're just charging as much as they can without disclosing as much as they can? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it feels pretty sneaky.
It does, right?
Like, we can charge you whatever we want, but like...
Well, I mean, $12. But let's be honest.
But they could do more, and you wouldn't know.
See, the thing is, yeah, they could do $15, and people would still buy it, and they would have no idea what the pop count is.
Right.
And no idea what their odds are.
No, I don't like it at all. And we've talked recently about how Panini's been a little off quality recently. And if Topps is sort of mirroring how they go about things, then that doesn't necessarily bode well for things down the road, at least in my mind. So yeah, no, I don't like that one bit. Not at all.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't really like it either. I think they need to either set up a print run that is known. Say like, okay, look guys, we're going to print 50,000 of these and like that's that. And we release it on our website or whatever. Right. But like allowing people to just buy however many they want and then just closing them on a certain day. It just, to me, it's I'm very impressed by this as a business decision. Yeah, that's... Great job, Michael Rubin. You know?
He knows what he's doing.
But in terms of a value perspective, this one could be pretty brutal for a lot of people. Because a lot of people are going to try to chase this one-of-one card every time something important happens, right? Because some people are just more impressed by speed than power, or average than this, or touchdowns than this, you know? I might think a 50-50 season is cooler than a 70 home run season. Right. Right? So you might buy the Aaron Judge card, but I might buy the Ohtani card, right? So, I mean, it's a genius marketing play, but I see an inherent problem with this in terms of value for people.
Yeah, so you kind of beat me to the point there. It's sort of... It's a business model, right? Like it shows that it's made for business and not necessarily for fan service.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, which it's working very well business-wise.
Moving on to our next story, though, and this one's every now and then, this is rarer and rarer, but every now and then we get a story that's a feel-good story that's pretty amazing, and I don't have 100% of the details on this, but I have enough for us to talk about it. A 1961 Wilt Chamberlain Fleer card was found inside of a grocery store closet. And lo and behold, this card, 1961 Fleer, by the way, is notorious for horrific centering quality and like color quality.
Old school, right?
Very, yeah. Well, of course, 1961. Come on now. The highest graded example of a Wilt Chamberlain 61 Fleer was, I think, an SGC 9.5, but there's no 10s that existed anywhere on planet Earth. And I think the highest sale of a PSA 9 last sold for around $200,000. So this card, I forget the guy's name, but someone gets a call, says, oh, I found a 61 Wilt Chamberlain Fleer card, looks pretty good. He says, I mean, odds of that are very slim. Gets a few preliminary pictures and says, wow, if this is real, this could be one of the craziest finds I've ever seen. Goes, looks at the card, sure enough, it is an authentic card. They send it to SGC, SGC grades it, and it becomes the first PSA, not PSA. Oh. Becomes the first SGC 10, the first 10 period in existence of this card. Is it $1 million card, possibly now being a pop 1, and the odds of this coming out in a PSA 10 ever again are pretty much 0. Yeah. Amazing story. What do you think about this Wilt Chamberlain? First ever 10, 61 Fleer Wilt.
I mean, so I wore, you sent me the notes, and so I wore this. Yeah, I wore this on purpose.
Did see that.
Wilt Chamberlain, of course, the greatest Jayhawk of all time. Also,
most importantly, the greatest Jayhawk.
Most importantly, also it's college football season, and I made sure to wear this because last time I wore this, and I remembered this moment, you flat out said KU will not be ranked preseason, and which they are. I just wanted to go back to that. Anyway,
for now,
they are ranked. You said they will not be ranked.
What are they ranked?
22nd. Anyways,
I mean that's like if you're outside of the top 20, is that really being ranked?
They are ranked. Oh my god, you said they will not be ranked. They are ranked. The thing about Wilt is, his entire life and his entire ethos, right, is crazy numbers. 100 points without video. You know, the first ever, or he scored a triple-double in his first ever collegiate game in varsity. There's, of course, the big number of which he got around to meeting people, that he says. right?
Yeah, bigger than those 100 points, I can tell you
yes,
that.
let's call it bigger than those 100 points. The size, the Big Dipper, the whole 9 yards. I think that for Will Chamberlain, yes, the higher the better, because anything with him is excess. So I think it should, but also Will Chamberlain is just the most remarkable personality we've had over the last 100. Also, where do you think they do you think this was a Whole Foods? Do you think this was a Trader Joe's?
Yeah.
Do you think this was a John's?
Let's just say
Final.
Let's just say I'm gonna guess it wasn't a Costco.
Oh.
Because if you're trying to find that in a Costco storage closet, good luck.
Or Sam's Club.
That's a lot of wholesale watermelons to go through.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Let's just say
87 rolls of toilet paper.
Yeah, exactly. But we're gonna move into our next hobby topic of the week. Of course, we live on the West Coast. We live in Los Angeles. The Burbank Card Show was this weekend from Friday to Sunday. It ended today. He was not there. A loser. I was certainly there, though, on Friday and Saturday. It was honestly a crazy, crazy experience.
Did anyone recognize you?
Of course.
Yeah, that's what
I
figured.
Probably 95% of the people there recognized me.
Well, that's why you hired private security.
Exactly. I had to have private security. Had to have a full detail with me at all times. Yeah. Otherwise, it was like I was getting mobbed more than some of these.
Well,
vendors.
that's why I didn't go. I was like, I'm very claustrophobic.
You didn't want to be involved with that. I hear you. But what are my takeaways from the show? Number one, incredible show. Shout out to Rob over at Burbank Sports Cards. I did talk to Rob for a little bit yesterday. Of course, Rob's going through a lot of stuff right now. They're moving shops to a 14,000 square foot location, putting on the Burbank Card Show this weekend. It was 120,000 square feet worth of show floor, packed to the brim. So many people, so many vendors. He did tell me that next year they are moving to a different hall that has double the space because 120,000 square feet is not enough. And let me tell you, it was not enough.
Yeah.
And they are also changing the name of the show from the Burbank Card Show to the West Coast Card Show.
Yeah.
Deservedly so. This thing is crazy. It was a great time.
And not in Burbank.
No, it's in Anaheim.
Yeah, so that was my biggest question.
But I do want to touch base about card shows and just making sure that you know what you're doing there and having goals, really, because there is so much stuff there that even if you see it, you're not going to remember where it is. I'm telling you. So if you see it, you got to get a dealer number and kind of have that map with you at all times. But what you got to remember at these card shows, and I found this kind of interesting, is that not all vendors are necessarily created equal. So when buying things, pricing can be all over the place. Some people seem unreasonable. Some people are very reasonable, right? And what you have to remember is that some of these vendors are true sellers, meaning they're there to make money.
Yeah.
And some of these vendors are like hybrid collectors / sellers that let their emotions get into it. And it was a little frustrating, some of the conversations I had. We did have some successful ones. But, for example, we were looking for a Brady Bowman Chrome rookie card, which is like we see on this pedestal here. We were looking for a BGS True 9.5, which means all 4 subgrades are 9.5. The last one sold for $3,600 on eBay. That's what the last one sold for. I found one at the store. At the show. The guy had a $4,500 price tag on it. Cool. And I said, look, man, I'm not even going to try and negotiate with you. This was the lowest comp. I don't want to negotiate. I'm not trying to get you on getting a lower price. This was the last comp. This is what they're selling for. I will give you $3,600 in cash right now for that card. Mm-hmm. He looks at me and he goes, if I'm being totally honest with you, man, I'm pretty underwater on this card right now. And meaning that he paid more than that for it.
Oh, so he doesn't want to be in the red.
So he doesn't want to be in the red, right? But look, it's a $3,600 card at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And his response was, to be honest with you, I'd rather just hold this and be underwater on it for the foreseeable future, which I find interesting because these people are there to sell cards, right? Mm-hmm.
I mean, supposedly.
So again, you got to make sure that the people you're talking to, you want to find the vendors that are true sellers, that are willing to make deals with you. There was quite a few that we were able to make deals with that were true sellers. But the nuances of card shows, you're not always going to get what you want. And some of these vendors are just like some of these people on eBay that are asking for 30% more than comps for literally no arbitrary reason whatsoever. And what happens? They end up holding the card forever. And the person who's actually willing to sell it for market price, the PSA 9, is worth only $2,300.
Wow.
Right?
Half a point is over $1,000. That's crazy.
But this card, for example, I purchased from a vendor there for very close to comps. And that guy is walking away with dollars. The other guy is whatever 4,000 plus in the hole that he paid for it, and he's willing to risk going further into the hole, is what it is. But we're going to move into our MLB update for this week.
He be drowning.
He do be drowning. The New York Yankees are 1 game up on the Orioles. The Cleveland Guardians, I almost said Indians.
Don't you dare.
Up 2.5. Houston has opened up a 4.5 game lead on the Mariners. The Phillies are up just 5.5 games now. Mm-hmm. I think it was like 7-8 games. Okay, 6 now. Mm-hmm. But this was pretty much a double-digit division lead a couple weeks ago.
That's true, yeah.
Milwaukee, of all teams, Milwaukee is the only one double-digit, like way ahead. I think it's 10.5, 11 games. And the Dodgers are 3 games up in the NL West after today. Couple things. What are your thoughts going into the last 35 games of the year? And then I always like to talk about cards that I think have the potential to significantly go up based on the schedule remaining and the standings and their possible inclusion in the playoffs. For me, I actually really like Shohei Ohtani cards right now. Heading into the stretch run, I know he was hit on the wrist today, but x-rays came back negative, so we're good, hopefully. But look, Max Muncy came back last week and has been mashing. Tommy Edman is healthy now. Yamamoto is going on his rehab assignment on Wednesday, so more help is on the way for Ohtani, who is, of course, chasing the first ever 50-50 home run stolen base season in MLB history. We did see Ohtani pitching again from a mound for the first time. The Dodgers are probably going to a 6-man rotation here. So I think a lot of help on the way, a lot of talent on that roster. If Ohtani can get to a World Series and win a World Series, his market is, I'm telling you, it's going to explode beyond belief. Another guy I like is Gunnar Henderson, because his cards have been pretty down the past month or two. But they have a solid pitching staff. They have a lot of good players around them. I think Gunnar Henderson, based on the price and where they're going to be in the playoffs, has a chance to really have his cards take off a little more. And my last one is actually going to be Bryce Harper, because he has been horrid he got hurt, but he had been horrid for the second half, essentially.
Yeah, and the team.
Yeah, but the Phillies make the playoffs. That is a strong rotation, a strong lineup, as strong of a home field advantage as you can get, and they perform well in the playoffs. I think Bryce Harper is a card to watch out for heading into the playoffs. What are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, I'll comment on what you just touched on as well. With the Brewers, it's more like it's a commentary on that division, which is not much to write home about.
Yeah, it's been tough.
The Dodgers have warmed up as their reinforcements have finally taken the field. It's been basically mediocre to bad baseball since Father's Day for this team.
And let's be honest, only half the reinforcements are here.
Yeah, but enough. To make it, we're not even talking about Mookie Betts, who's probably made as big of a difference as anyone.
Yeah. Enough to make a big difference.
Yeah, but think about this week they now have coming up, because the Orioles just played Sunday Night Baseball. They hop on a bird, no Oriole pun intended, and they come out here.
Yep.
So it's 3 with the Orioles for the Dodgers, and then they have a crazy Labor Day weekend 4-game set in the desert with the red-hot, scorching Arizona Diamondbacks. That will be something to keep an eye on. You mentioned Ohtani and picking up his cards. Look, I get the argument for Marcell Ozuna. Bad guy, great hitter. But the argument I heard is you take Ozuna off the Braves, and then what is this team? And I come back with Well, you take Ohtani off the Dodgers, and they're basically in the same spot because without him, they're not even in the position that they are now.
Without Ohtani, Dodgers are probably a 500 team.
100%, at least since June. Well, they were a 500 team.
Right.
Without him, they're an under 500 team.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of Gunnar Henderson, I like Gunnar. He's cooled off, but 30 home runs for a shortstop's pretty remarkable. I want to touch on the guy who's truly underwhelming for that team, and that's Adley Rutschman. Adley is at a 263 average with a 748 OPS, which is basically average numbers.
But from a catcher, that's still above average.
So listen to this, though. Listen to his last 30 games. So basically a month's worth of baseball. A 218 average. Only 2 home runs. So like if you're not going to get on base or hit, at least provide some power from, he's usually hitting 2, 3, 4, right? Mm-hmm. And you just said it. The point I was going to make is signs of wearing down, right? Mm-hmm. And especially in Baltimore, which is disgustingly humid during the summertime.
Yeah.
And that is the issue with having a catcher as one of your cornerstone pieces. He's going to wear down. You need to DH him. You need to give him first base time, or you're going to see this. He's been struggling. I saw him on Sunday Night Baseball today and say, those numbers are not really doing so great.
Yeah.
And in terms of the Phillies, to me, it's shocking that the Braves are only 6 games back. Like, Philly was running away with that division. The Braves have been decimated by injuries. They lost arguably the best pitcher in baseball in Spencer Strider.
Yep.
They lost arguably the best overall player in baseball in Ronald Acuna. And Strider was before the year. Acuna was basically in April, right?
Right.
So all season long. You want to talk about the Dodgers and like that their division's too close? Arizona and San Diego don't lose. At the very least, they don't lose. Arizona's on a 6-game winning streak. The Braves have been decimated. They're only 10 games over 500.
Right.
The Phillies should be running away with this division. That's kind of weird for me.
Yeah. No, I think those are all good points. Especially, I like your points on Adley. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, I've never been super high on Adley.
Oh, really?
I get it. Switch hitting young catcher, 20 plus homers and like high 200s average is sexy and everything, but like, but he's not Buster Posey.
That's the dream though, right?
Yeah, that is the dream, but I feel like his hype is like kind of at that level. Mm-hmm. But really quick, we're going to move into our NFL update. Of course, the preseason is now over, which means the injury risk significantly goes down, so you can be a little more comfortable with your fantasy drafts. They still can get hurt in practice, happens all the time. Mm-hmm. But not a whole lot of stories that we want to touch base on right now. Obviously, there'll be a lot more in the coming weeks, like Jamar Chase and this whole contract situation, and we had CeeDee Lamb with a similar...
Yeah. And Dak.
And it's been a little all over the place. Madden did come out, however.
Oh, did it?
And it sucked. I haven't played it, but I heard it sucked.
It's been the same game for like 20 years.
Yeah, that's the problem. I played the new NCAA game, though, and that game is absolutely awesome.
Is it weird with the player names,
that's
though?
good. No, not really.
That's what we expect.
It's annoying I can't change the names to like funny names or like puns and stuff like that.
Like Mr. Fartface.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to begin to close things down for this week's episode of the Hobby Headquarters here at the Hollywood Rip Studio. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below because you are the man. Or woman. Yeah. If you do so to help us out. So until next time, I'm Mr. Hollywood, that's Joe Nasty, and we are out.